At first, things are going to look a little bit like this. And then all of a sudden, Bitcoin is going to do this. Hello and welcome to your Mining Disrupt News Surge for Monday, April 21st, 2025. And before I go any further, let me be the first to tell you that there is a major announcement coming out from, yeah, you got it, Mining Disrupt. It's coming out later today on Monday the 21st, so if you're already in Tuesday or you're watching this later, then you know what I'm talking about, and you know how big of a deal this is. So, if you're not subscribed, then you might miss out. So stay subscribed, be locked in, and you'll get all of this latest breaking news from here, as always. And before I go any further, please remember that everything that you see from me here is for entertainment and education purposes only, not financial advice. Now, I'm going to be referring back to those clips I just played in a moment and talking about what I mean here, but let's go over the numbers. We're looking at 84,000. We've been sideways chopping for it feels like a month now. Priority fees are still really low. Unconfirmed transactions under 30,000. The mempool regularly clears out these days. Hash rate is hitting all-time highs. Things are looking about as healthy as possible for Bitcoin. Now I'm going to be revealing something completely, absolutely, totally out of left field. The kind of thing that I have never, ever talked about before on this channel. And it's going to tie into Bitcoin and what I'm talking about here in a very big way. But let me be the first to tell you that no matter what you think about this current administration, one thing is abundantly clear. Either, one, Trump's administration actually does care about America, or it's all just a ruse to sell an idea. But either way, the message is continually being put out there, America first. Again and again and again. And that ties in directly to this weird tangent that I'm going to talk about after the news. First up, we've got this from Bitcoin Magazine talking about one of the most underappreciated people in Bitcoin, Bo Hines, saying here, President Trump's executive director, Bo Hines, says that the U.S. may buy Bitcoin using revenue from tariffs. And Magoo PhD here says, these are unserious people. How many times can you recycle, we might buy Bitcoin? Magoo is missing the message here. These are people talking about Bitcoin on the biggest stage in the world. That's pure signal. I commonly share tweets from her husband, Pierre Richard, but this is Morgan Richard saying, Bitcoin has fewer risks than traditional investments. And this right on the heels of that from Charles Miller _7 says, if you're on the wrong train, get off. And here's the message. There's a famous Japanese proverb that says, if you find yourself on the wrong train, get off at the next station. It doesn't matter if you have to pay a high cost for a new ticket. It doesn't matter if you're embarrassed and have to make a mistake. Every price you pay to fix the situation is worth not going the wrong way and starting to go the right way. Not having the courage to get off means going to the wrong destination. This, of course, isn't about trains. It's about life. Now, last week I talked about the network effect and how things are coming together. I talked about the Pineapple Express and how that changed things, and it was at the forefront of big cultural shifts. Well, here's some of those cultural shifts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sunny Poe saying, spoke to 5+ people today with 0, a big fat goose egg, allocation previously, now looking at buying Bitcoin. 0.8 Bitcoin, nearly an entire Bitcoin, bought immediately by one. Have not seen such sudden interest in 15 years. Something big has fundamentally changed. There's a big change coming. I can almost guarantee it. A big change. And this news story that I'm going to share at the very end, which is completely, as I've mentioned, totally out of left field, just way out there, is a key insight into what's coming. And because I already mentioned him, we got to get Pierre Richard in here. He says, for 16 years, the smartest people on Wall Street said
Bitcoin is too volatile, but we like blockchain technology.
They lost a lot of money investing in blockchain technology projects when they should have been monetizing Bitcoin volatility. Boy, I feel like we just talked about this with trains and getting off and getting... interesting. Maybe they should have paid attention to some old Japanese proverbs. This is from James Lavish. He says, "Good afternoon. We are one positive tariff or Fed policy headline away from a face-melting Bitcoin rally. Fade at your own peril. And have a great weekend." And because this is Monday, I hope you had a great weekend. There was something that happened a couple years ago when Taylor Swift went on that big world tour. And she was in the US and people were talking about inflation. Something that people noticed was, this is different. This is a signal that the times are a-changin'. And then what do you know happened in November of 2024? Well, we got a new president who is the current president right now. And that same idea, that same message is here in one of the unlikeliest of all places. Take a look at this. This is from the Paris Fashion Week. Now, I encountered this article from a composer who is currently working on a symphony for America's 250th anniversary, which is happening next year. Now, I asked Grok how much money was spent on the 200th anniversary that happened in 1976, and it estimated anywhere between $50 to $100 million, which in today's dollars is anywhere between $500 million to $2.5 billion spent on that. Now, I started this whole segment talking about Trump and his either true or projected love of this country. He has talked about big things, big events, festivals, parades, symphonies, just huge events happening next year. Do you think, for a chance, is it possible? Can you fathom, can you even grasp in your mind the concept, the notion that maybe some of this stuff that's going down with the tariffs and economic, all of this stuff is to push American exceptionalism to the forefront of the world's mind? Is that possible? And if it is, would not economics play into this some way? Now, the quick and TLDR version of this article that I'm going to read the end of is about Fashion Week in Paris and how it sets the scene. It kind of is a barometer, a radar for what is to come. Crashing markets can only be met with an attitude to work twice as hard and look twice as good. War abroad reminds us to be ready at all times and remain agile. Exclusive opportunities push us to set ourselves apart. Luxury is no longer out of touch and embarrassing, but desirable and rebellious. And even while practicing this mental strength, perhaps the feminine silhouettes through it all remind us that we must also remain soft and unjaded. That is quite the different approach to the coming years than what we were feeling just a few years ago. It's a big change. And as we approach the 250th year anniversary of this great nation, I think that Bitcoin is going to play a major role in all of this. And what does that Mexican standoff have to do with all this? Well, to tie this all together, there's going to be a moment real soon when all these big corporations, I'm not talking about strategy, that's big and they've got a lot of holdings. I'm talking big. I'm talking Apple. I'm talking Nvidia. I'm talking big. Magnificent 7 big. GME is up there. It might get the ball rolling, but I'm talking about one of those big players. And when that happens, get ready for the face melting, because it's a-coming. Faces are going to melt. They will drip and drool away when people realize what they missed out on and how they still actually can get on the Bitcoin train, which is one train ticket I am certainly going to be paying attention to. Until next week.